Hi everyone, let's get started with today's webinar. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Susanna and I work as a marketing researcher here at SoftLink IC. I'm also joined today by one of my colleagues to help out with any questions or comments during the webinar. Today is our What's New in Liberty webinar, where we will cover all of the fantastic features and enhancements in our latest release. And today we are looking at just some of the features that have come out in Liberty version 5, build 8, patch 56. This release adds some great new features and improves on our existing offering. Features we'll be covering today include making an RSS feed from a search, security, file control, a new dashboard in the management view, and so much more. And remember, you are able to review the help notes, the full release notes in our help menu. Let's now look at some of the latest feature releases for Liberty, and let's kick off with a look at creating an RSS feed from your OPAC search. Let's see how we can create an RSS feed containing resources determined by a search parameter. And once you've created these, you'll be able to add them to an RSS feeder, read feeder if you use one. Now, this is what the RSS feed looks like, and it's a result of new resources I've added to my catalogue. So how do we create this? I'm sure you'll agree it's a super cool feature, but early on, I want you to make me a promise. I know it's a bit early in the webinar. I want you to promise you're not going to get freaked out by the next slide, okay? So promise me that. Here we go. All right. Promise me, no freaking out. So I've got the details on the screen now, and it is a lot, right? But really, if you look, it's just a copy. One is a copy of what's below. So the top part is the template that we can modify to create an RSS feed from our search results. Now, the second part, I've filled in and highlighted in yellow the parts that will be relevant to you as you're creating that, so it makes it results from your catalogue. So you can see that in yellow, we've got the catalogue address, we've got the name of your library, we've got your registration name, which is available in Liberty, and then we've also got the query. So that's where we've got the Q equals cats in highlight. In yellow highlight, that's our query. And then we've also asked for some sort features. So we're asking it to sort by title and also in ascending order. See, it wasn't that bad at all. Now, as always, you can always contact our support team for help with this particular feature or any other questions you have about using Liberty. So this URL that I've created essentially will return OPAC search results as an RSS feed. And these results will include a thumbnail of the resource if we have added it to the catalogue. So how could something like this be useful? Well, for those of you already using an RSS feed reading service, like the ones you can see on the screen, you can add this RSS feed to that feed reader. These services are offered by a third party, and some are paid and some are free with limited access under that free subscription. Some browsers also offer feed reading services or extensions that you can add in, such as in Chrome or Vivaldi. So why don't we head over and see what our RSS feed looks like in a reader. Let me just change my screens. Here we are. So this RSS feed reader is called Feedly. It was a free one that we could subscribe to when we were having a look at this feature and what it would look like on the other side of Liberty. So here you can see I've subscribed to some RSS feeds under a category called Library. And you can see, for example, here's an RSS feed coming through from American Libraries magazine. And you can see in the feed here, we've got some little icons that we can go ahead and click on. And depending on how much information they've loaded in, we can scroll through and have a look at that content. Well, let's have a look at what that RSS feed from Liberty looks like. And here it is here, loading up on the screen. So you can see very similar look and feel to the one we just looked at from the American Libraries Association. And in here, we have a rolling feed of our brand new resources that we have added to the catalogue. And you can see the thumbnails are a little hit and miss. So if they've been loaded as part of the resource, they will load in the feed. But the great thing is that you can actually see some of the cataloguing information within that feed resource. And it gives people an opportunity to combine brand new resources from your catalogue into their existing RSS feed. So that is a pretty cool feature, I think you'll agree. So if you're already using a service like this, have a think about using these, a feed like this to promote new resources that are coming into your catalogue. So a very nice addition that complements this brand new feature sits under parameter 4424. So let's head over and have a look, and I'll give you the lowdown on this brand new feature. So parameter 4424, let me just find him in my list. Here it is here. So this brand new parameter, if we enable it, it will allow secured or restricted resources, beg your pardon, to be included in search results. And then also something like the RSS feed we just created above. So these resources will display, but there's no access to them. So they are still secured or restricted. They just return as a result. And then there's a message displayed about denying access to that resource unless you have the right permissions. So let's enable this particular parameter. So I'll go ahead and click on yes there and close this dialog box down. Let's go and have a look at what it would look like. So in my OPAC here, let me do a search for my resource. And I'm looking for a little padlock. Here it is. So this has returned in my search for resources. But if I attempt to access this particular resource, I'm told that I don't have the required permissions to view that resource. But previously, I would have never known that this resource existed. I would have never seen it come up in these search results. So this parameter is a great addition to let your borrowers or users see that there's a resource which might be relevant to them, and it gives them a prompt to get in touch for access if they're allowed to access it. Right, let me just go back to the OPAC homepage. So I've got another great feature to show you related to the control of resources. So let's head over to the management side of Liberty. And this functionality actually sits under circulation and our lending rules. We've added brand new functionality which allows finer access control over resource files and attachments in the system. And you can see in lending rules, I've got a brand new tab here called files. So what we can now do is we can create file categories and configure access levels which will be set as per our existing borrower types. Now, before we go on, there's just a couple of points to note while I let you have a really good look at this brand new screen in the system. There are two categories that are built in, and they are authenticated and general. Now, these are hard-coded and they provide the same functionality as was previously available under anonymous restrictions. So you can see here the file category authenticated covers off any previously flagged content as hidden from anonymous users, whereas the general is files with no restrictions previously. So this allows full access to all users. Now, there are a couple of ways that we can create our brand new file categories. We can create them up here in this submenu, and we can jump right in and create a brand new file category, or we can open the file categories and create them from there. So let's open the file categories first, and we can have a look at them here. And you can see I've got 5 in the system already, and I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new one. So I'm going to create a brand new one for some lecture notes that I know I'm going to be adding into the system. And you can see I've got a prompt to add in some extra content if I need it. So a description if it helps me understand what that file category is more, but I think lecture notes are pretty self-explanatory. I can also choose whether it's the default. Now, by default in the system, all files are assigned that general file category and they will be unrestricted. If you want to change the default file access category, you can change that through a brand new parameter, which is 3215, and that will let you set which file category is the default. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm not messing with it, but I am going to set a page preview limit. So I'm going to say that if somebody has, say, view only access or a preview access, they can see the first 2 pages of my particular resource. So I'll go ahead and click on save. And if I navigate back to my lending rules and then into my files tab, you can see that lecture notes, just move that one out of the way. You can see that lecture notes have now been added as part of my file categories. And as predicted, the default category applied is that unrestricted, but no, that's not what I want. So just like for our loans that we limit by borrower loan category, if we click on the relevant box that is in the matrix, we can go ahead and change that file access rule. So let's run through them so we get a good understanding of what each category means. So when I say no access, the file is completely hidden. If I give access to the title only, I can see the title of that particular file, but obviously I can't do anything more. So a good one if you just want to let people know that that particular file exists. A preview only option gives me a preview of that particular file in a PDF viewer, and the number of pages that I can see is configurable through that file category setup. So just like we did then, I'm only going to let people see 2 pages if I choose preview only. Now, a couple of things to note. The only file type that works here is a PDF file type because we launch it in a PDF viewer. If we offer full document read-only access, the full file can be opened in that PDF viewer, but there's no option to download, okay? And again, only PDF files work here. And unrestricted access means that there are no restrictions. It can be viewed, it can be downloaded, and you can see the whole document in the PDF viewer. So let's set some of my restrictions. I was going to say permissions and restrictions together. What was I thinking? All right, let's go with no access for my anonymous users. Staff, I'm going to leave it unrestricted. Students, though, I'm only going to give them preview only access because I want them to get in touch with me to get the full file. My external users, let's say I only want them to see the title, and my interloan, I don't want any access to that at all. So you can see I've configured those restrictions for my lecture notes as my file category. Right, so what's next? We've set up the file category and we've got our access rules sorted. So I guess we need to add an attachment to a resource. So let's head back over to cataloging and resources. And I'm not going to be fussy today. I'm just going to pick the first resource that I can find. And I'm going to go ahead and add an attachment. So let's add my attachment here. And I'm going to pick an attachment that I've got saved for easy access. And you can see in my file category here, I can nominate the kind of file this is. So let's say this is a lecture note, and I will click on upload. Click on finish, and I'm just going to copy that title so we can have a look at what that looks like in the OPAC. Now, I'm logged in as a staff or an administrator, so for me, the access for this will be a little bit different. So you can see here, I can download or view this particular file, and there's my PDF viewer. And conveniently, the file is an overview of what we're just talking about. And you can see I've got access to all 4 pages there. But what if I was a student? Well, let's have a look at my friend Joel here. Just bring Joel over. All right, Joel. Now, my friend Joel is going to do exactly the same search in the OPAC. Let's have a look at what he can see. Joel can only view a preview of this particular file, and he can only see 2 pages, because remember, that's what we set up in the permissions for that particular overview. So Joel can't download this, he can't save it, and he's limited to 2 pages there. So I think you'll agree this is really next level in terms of access and control for our files and attachments in the catalogue. Now, let's have a look at, here's what I prepared earlier. Let's have a look at an all-in-one. So what I've done is, under this particular resource, I've added in all of the options that I can think about. So you can see for this one here, I can only see the title, and it tells me no access permitted. For this one, I'm able to view the whole document. So this is a 6-page document, and I can view all the content that I need there. For this one, I can only view a preview, so the first 3 pages, which is whatever I'd set up in that initial category restriction. And then for this one, I've got full access, so I can view that document in the PDF viewer in its entirety, and I can also download that to my local drive if I want a copy. So if you do need to do quite a few of these at once, let me just head back to the management side of Liberty. Oh, not that one, this one here. So if I'm sitting here under cataloging and resources again, I can do a bulk change. So let me just choose a couple of resources here and view those in a separate screen. And here under this resources area, I've got the option to change my file categories. So you can see that not only can I change the files, but I can also update attachments, files, or the content pages with those brand new file categories. And I can assign them depending on the type of access that I want people to have in bulk. Of course, with any of the features we have in Liberty, new or old, if you'd like any help working through this feature, feel free to get in touch with the team. Okie dokie, let's switch gears now and have a look at a new security feature related to the OPAC homepage, where users won't be able to see any content until they log in. So how does this work? Well, my friend Joel's going to help me out here. So if I log out of Joel's system here, you can see that on the homepage here, he's got visibility of content, and depending on how I've set it up, he may or may not be able to interact with these resources. Now, by default, you'll retain your current configuration. So if whatever you've got set up at the moment will keep, unless you make a change to this new parameter. So let's head over to our parameters and make a change so we can see what it looks like once we've enabled that parameter. The parameter we want to look at today, there are 2 that cover off this particular feature. The first one is parameter 4511. Now, this parameter is where we'll be able to control the visibility of content on the OPAC before someone logs in. So you can see I've got a bit of a description here and some help text that helps me understand what my options are. And this parameter was previously called Search Allows Anonymous Users. But because we've added a bit of extra functionality in here, we've given it a brand new name. So let me edit this parameter and change it to yes. And what's going to happen now is when Joel tries to log in, or anyone tries to log in, they'll actually see a splash screen behind their login box. So I've saved that to yes, and I'll close out of there. But the second part to this great feature is adding in that splash screen. And you can do that under parameter 4242. So let's head over to this parameter. So this is where I can set the background image for my login. So my login screen background image is here for me. So I'll go ahead and choose that and click on save. Close out of this. All right, now let's head back to my friend Joel, and I will refresh that screen. And you can see by enabling that parameter and adding the image, he's now presented with a splash screen before he's able to log into the system. No content is visible. And the forgot password link is now a pop-up, likewise with the register now link as well for the OPAC. So if I go ahead and log back in as Joel, I've now got access to the content after I've logged in. So to recap on that one, our new parameter 4511 allows visibility of the homepage before logging in by adding a splash screen instead, if that's what you'd like to do. And parameter 4242 is where you specify that image. All right, Joel can just car park to the side for now because I want to show you a quick little update we've made in Serials. We've made a nice little change over here under subscriptions. So word on the street has been that it's quite common to add notes in for the access method of online or email subscriptions. So let me just show you the change that we have made. If I search for my Serial here, and I'll edit him. So previously, we would add a note in here nominating how the online or email subscription was accessed. But if we scroll down into the arrival method area, you'll see that we now have an option to choose an access method if we have an arrival method of email or online. If the arrival method is, say, post, you'll notice that that option is no longer relevant for us. So let's go with online here. And I've got 4 access methods that are hard-coded into the system. But like with everything in Liberty, if you'd like to add some more access methods in, you can do that under management and list files. Oh, yes, I'd like to leave this page. And here you see under the list files, we've got our arrival methods, and you're more than welcome to go ahead and add in any extras that you might need. Let's head back to Serials and subscriptions, and let's see this process through, and let's add an arrival method for this particular subscription. So search for my subscription here, which I know I receive online, change that to online, and let's say that the password is my access method, and click on save. And so this is a nice little change just to help you keep track of your online and email access methods for your Serials. All right, back over to the home page now. Oh, I am glad I had an extra cup of coffee this morning. We've got a lot to look at. Back over to the home page now, and I want to show you how it's possible to apply filters to custom searches. So first up, let's set up a brand new custom search. So under homepage options, I'm going to manage my custom searches, and I'm going to add one in. And this particular custom search is going to be for my annual reports. Boring, but necessary. Now, I'll bet you anything you all notice the show to and hide from boxes, and that is going to form part of the way that we filter. We're going to come back to that. So let me just make sure I've given it a name, and I've chosen what resources are going to be in this particular custom search, and I'm going to click on save, and you can see there's my custom search there. and I refresh my homepage, and here's my custom search ready to go. But the point of today's feature is adding the filters. So to add in the filter, let's have a look at our homepage options again and down to manage filters. So I've got a couple of filters that sit in the system here, and I'm going to add a brand new filter in. Let's give it a name. So this filter is going to be for my marketing department. And like with the other functions we have for filters, I've got a few ways that I can add that in, but I think the name gives it away. It's for my marketing department. So it's only going to be the marketing team that can see this particular filter. And I'll click on save, and I've got that filter loaded in the system. So the last part now is, let's go back to our custom search and add that filter. So let's edit this one here for the custom search for the annual reports. And the brand new filter option that we give you allows you to either show to or hide from in your custom searches. Pretty self-explanatory. If I want a certain group of borrowers to see it, I'm going to show it to them. So in this instance, the marketing department is going to see this particular custom search. And if I want to hide it from a particular group of borrowers, I add it in on this side. So I'm happy with that. Let's click on save, and you'll never guess. My friend Joel, he's part of the marketing department. So let's go back to Joel's homepage now and click on refresh. His homepage has been refreshed, and you can see Joel, by the virtue of being part of that marketing department, he will now see that custom search, but nobody else will. So a nice little addition to our filters being added into that custom search. Oh, staying with the OPAC now, we can add in branch-specific banner images. So let's leave Joel to one side for now, and we're going to need to do this in the management side of Liberty. But before we do that, just a quick reminder that if you do add in a branch-specific banner image, this will take precedent over the one that you have loaded under parameter 4231. So to add it in, we navigate to System and then Branches, and I'm going to add in a funky image for my Archives branch. So let's choose that image. Here's one I prepared earlier, and I will upload that and save. So if I launch my homepage again and I view my homepage as a specific branch, which is my Archives branch, I should see that fancy new image load, and there you have it. So this is a nice way to help customize those branches, not just with the subpages and the look and feel you can create here, but also with the banner. We are, holy smokes, all about the parameters today. So let's check out another great update using parameters that we have made to scope notes. We've made a few little tweaks to scope notes over the last few releases, and this change adds scope notes to our author search results. But because we're all about parameters today, the first thing we need to do is enable that parameter. So over to management and parameters again. And the parameter that we're looking for is 2041. So let me find 2041 in my list here. Here it is here. And I'm going to go ahead and enable this so that I can view author scope notes in my resource search results. So that one's saved there. Now to add in any scope notes, you can do that under cataloging and authority control. And here we've got our authors, and let me just search for an author. And I know my good friend John Grisham has some scope notes loaded. Don't get confused like I did and look for it in the notes. It's not there. It's here under scope notes. And so you can see I've got a scope note here against that particular author. So where does it appear? Over to the home page or the OPAC. Let's now do a browse by, not book lovers. We want to browse by Grisham. And you can see that the scope note for the author has appeared here. And then if I actually click on the link to show me the 7 results related to that author, you can see that the scope note also appears here in my preview text and also here in my hover. So if you've got some scope notes you'd like to add against your authors, this is a handy little way to do that. And that was under parameter 2041. Right. One last feature to show you on the OPAC or your home page. Now, if you're using resource fields user text 1 through to 35, this can now be added as a field to your advanced searching. Now, we just need to turn on page editing to be able to do that. So let's head over to our system. Where is he? There he is, system and pages. And with page editing turned on, we can head back to the OPAC and I'll refresh my page and you can see I'm able to change the layout of this screen. All right, so the layout that I want to change is this one here, Catalog Search OPAC. And in my unused column, you can see I've got my user lists and I've also got user multi-select lists. Don't get dizzy while I'm scrolling down this list. And here we've got my user text field. So I'll add this one in. I'll move it up to the top so it's kind of obvious. I need it to hit me in the face when I add it. And I'll click on save. And then I don't need this little box anymore, so I can hop out of that and just refresh this homepage once more. And under my advanced search, you can see that that user text field is now in my advanced search. Now, obviously, user text 1 means nothing to your patrons or your users. So the translation keys for these labels is similar to other ones that we use within the system. So get in touch with our support team for the full details if you're using these particular text fields, and the help notes are in the system too. Okay, back to our management interface. Now, I don't know if you've had as much coffee as me today, but you might have noticed one of the most exciting and visible changes we've made in this release is our new dashboard in the management interface. Now, you would have seen it today, but let's have a look at it in some more detail. This layout has been automatically selected as the default landing page for when staff log in. So let's take a closer look. This dashboard covers some of the key day-to-day functions within your library. We've got some great widgets here that give us some excellent information about what's happening in your system at a glance. Some of the ones I like, for example, my favorites include my favorites. So to organize my favorites, I can now easily add in some of the areas of the system I look at frequently. So if I'm a Z cataloging fan, why don't I go ahead and add that in as part of my favorites? What about if I'm looking at some bookings or alerts? You get the idea. I can save that back to the dashboard. And here I've got quick and easy links into my most frequently used parts of the system. One of the other widgets that I wanted to show you was this one here, the collection summary. A nice way to see what the breakdown of your collection is. And you can actually go ahead and click on these and get a listing of all of the resources that sit within that collection. So wherever you see that blue link, you can follow that. One of the other cool features on the widgets, I mean, all of them are cool, but one of the ones I wanted to show you was the successful and failed searches. So these ones here. Now, not only can you see who did the search, So I can click on that and I can have a look at when the search was done, but I can also see where it was done. So this one was done on our Liberty link, and this one was done through Orbit. This one was done through my main OPAC. So this is a really great way to have a look at where your searches are coming from, who did it, and what are some of the common failed searches that are happening in the system, just so that you can improve the way that your users access those resources. Now you can change this view if you want under parameter 1145, but I mean, why would you, right? If you love this dashboard as much as I do, when it first came out, I was very excited to see it. You'll definitely be keeping this view when you log in. You're going to want it to be the first thing you see. The even better news though is, and we are going to have a look at this parameter, is that under parameter 1156, you can change the order and also choose which widgets you would like to see. I think we should definitely have a look at that one. So let's have a look at this one, parameter 1156, and I can edit that. And so you can see from the drop-down list, here's all my available widgets, and here they are as they appear in my system. And I mean, I'm going to go a little bit silly. Let's just get rid of quite a few so that it's kind of obvious when I go back there that they're missing. But you can go ahead and remove them, and then you can also go ahead and add them back in from the drop down there. So my recent orders were already in there. I think I took collection summary out. So there we go. That's back in there. So now if I click on save, probably notice that if I go back to that dashboard, it's a little bit bare, and I've just got those 6 widgets on the screen there. So now on the dashboard, on this right-hand side of the dashboard, our side panel where we have notices, which helps you see what's coming up, or is a very handy link to watch any of our recent webinars or boot camps. The things to do and also the blog will stay the same there. So it's this main area that has the widgets loaded into it that you can customize. So before we wrap up today, I'm going to head out of the system and back to my presentation, and we're going to run through a few more updates. So it's now possible to generate custom reports for loan history that include the ISBN and the publisher fields. You can find this in our circulation module under loan history and reports, and you can create a custom report from there. You can now use the global change function to change the preferred message type for a list of borrowers to either email or SMS. So a nice addition to our global change offering. The default maximum thumbnail image size has been increased to improve the visibility of higher resolution resource thumbnails. For those of you using the Browsine integration, if you have it enabled, links have been added to the OPAC search result detail and hover dialogues. Federated search connectors for those of you using Elsevier Science Direct have been updated to include the institutional tokens issued by Elsevier. This can help with improved authentication when accessing their resources from Liberty. Now, I feel like we spent a good portion of today talking about parameters, and there were so many great new parameters introduced into the system. So I thought I would just pop a slide up that gave us a nice little summary of the parameters that we covered today. So you can see we looked at the file control parameters, the splash screen. We looked at adding the scope notes for authors, the dashboard layout, and also the overview of the dashboard that you can add or remove the ones that you want. So guys, that brings us to the end of our new features webinar. There were plenty of updates, changes, and enhancements in this release, including making an RSS feed from a search which wasn't as scary as it first looked. I know that was a lot. First up, we looked at file control, the brand new management dashboard, and so much more. Now, we're always looking for ways to improve Liberty. And as always, our support team is ready to help if you need it. So feel free to get in touch using the details you can see on the screen. Thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. We just love sharing all of our new features with you, and we like it that you're as excited as we are. So thank you very much.